Were Ghanaians before independence more tribal blind than we are today? How did Nkrumah gain the confidence and support of the masses in such a short period after his return?
Well, Ghanaians have always been aware of their ethnic groupings. Unfortunately, tribalism, as we've come to notice it, is a sickness that emerged in Europe, where racism and all other of these evil vices started. Those Africans who went to Europe to be educated were infected with these diseases. Hence, when they came back home, they used it for their political purposes. And it has now gained roots because those who have come to even join the political debate from the military jungles are now embracing tribalism. And this is a dangerous path that a nation or the continent is paving for himself. So we need to address tribalism highly.
Mohandas Gandhi returned to India from South Africa and applied nonviolence for his country's independence. Kwame Nkrumah returned to the then Gold Coast from the United States and United Kingdom and applied positive action for Ghana's independence. Professor Nkansah, what is positive action and how was it applied?
Positive action is simply non-compromise. You don't have to negotiate. You don't have to agree with these people because, well, as we have come down to study American history or any of this Western history, European history, Europeans are the sort of people who will always not understand you if you don't show some sort of violence. Because we saw what happened in South Africa of late. When they realized that the world was against them, they were still holding South Africans at bay using the apartheid system. So when Nkrumah and others came to Ghana, they thought about the positive action, meaning if we negotiate with these people, it will take us another 100 years. They will never give us, because they are always liars. They will never give us our freedom. So we don't have to, but we aren't going to use violence. We're not going to use violence, but we're going to use the tactics that Gandhi and others have employed. Sit-ins, demonstrations, boycotting. Those were the economic issues that people have forgotten. That when you boycott and you don't buy from them, it hurt them in their pockets.
There you go. Again, as the name of this show implies, African traditionalism believes in the mystery system. The introduction of positive action was like gold handed to the British, and they had Nkrumah locked up. How did the masses remain committed to him even though he was put away behind bars?
That's a great question again. Like I've said already, Kwame Nkrumah never had any tribalistic or any tribalism in his vein. Kwame got along with everybody. Even though he was in Zama, he was able to speak almost about 6 or 7 different Ghanaian dialects. That made him a unique person among the so-called UGCC. Kwame never spoke for interpreters to reinterpret what he was trying to imply. When he was in Akan district or Akan area, he always speak the Akan language. Even if he made mistakes, they did understand him. So when Kwame Nkrumah came to Ghana or the then Gold Coast, he associated himself with the common people, hence Valanda boys. He associated himself with the common people, and the common people or the masses realized that that was the sort of person they needed to liberate them from the yoke of colonialism. Therefore, whilst he was in prison, people like Gwedema, Botu, and others, those young men who had helped Kwame Nkrumah form the CPP, were campaigning very hardly for Kwame Nkrumah.
I see.
Therefore, even though he was in Zama, like I have already stated, Kwame never even stood at Nzema. He rather stood at Accra.
Accra Central.
Accra Central.
Right.
And the Ghana people, irrespective of who you are or where you come from, they are not tribalistic. That's one thing we have to understand about the Gans too.
True. As a person who appreciates history a great deal, I envy the Ghana people. And you just mentioned them. How did the Ghans come out in their numbers during the 1951 elections to vote so massively for Kwame Nkrumah and Nzima?
Well, like I just said, in politics, you always have to understand where your leader is leading you to.
Right.
The Ghans realized that Kwame Nkrumah had vision, more than those visionalists who have been in the country for all these years.
Right.
Therefore, they wanted a young person, not in terms of age,
right.
but a young person who will understand them, who can relate to them, to lead them.
Right.
Therefore, the reason why they voted for Nkrumah in 1951, there was no need, I think that was the second part of the question, there was no need for the 1956 election.
Right.
But those who have come to lose the 1951 election decided upon themselves to go back to Britain. They sent delegation, a high-powered delegation, led by Dr. Kofi Abrefa-Buzia, to go and tell the British Parliament, those same people who have come to colonize us, that if they give Kwame Nkrumah or the CPP our freedom, the European model of colonialism will fail. Ghana was an incubator or experimental incubator for the Europeans. They were trying to share power with the educated elites and then have the queen be the head of state, and so Africans were buying into that kind of BS.
What exactly is the meaning of Ghana, Professor Nkansah?
Well, you know, in our tradition, names always have meanings.
Right.
We Africans are unlike Europeans who will probably call a person stone or water or whatever without even having a meaning.
Right.
We always have meanings to our names.
Right.
People have come out with the idea that Dr. Dankwa was the person who had coined the name Ghana for us by tracing our ancestry to the old Ghana Empire, which is great because he was a great philosopher. Therefore, we have to honor him where the honor is due.
Okay.
So when Dr. Dankwa coined, or when Dr. Dankwa initiated the name Ghana for the then Gold Coast, nobody even thought about inviting Kwame Nkrumah.
Right.
Because Dankwa and Nkrumah just met in 1984. I mean, rephrase it, 1948.
Right.
I'm sorry to, if that can be taken off.
Oh, no, that's okay.
1948.
Right.
So when Dr. Dankwa came out with came out to trace the history of the people of Dakan, all the way back to the ancient Ghana. One who have been thinking about, well, Europeans mistakenly called the olden or the ancient Ghana because the king of that ancient empire was Magan.
Right.
So instead of calling him Magan, Europeans had wanted to shorten it and say, well, this is his country, and instead of calling Ghana, the land Magan land, they said Ghana.
Right.
Okay, back to your question again. The name Ghana, if you separate the alphabets, the G will stand for God.
Right.
The H will stand for has. The A will stand for already.
Okay. The N?
The N will stand for Nkrumah. and the A will stand for appointed.
Right.
Therefore, if we fold these words again together, we can say Dr. Dankwa even was like John the Baptist,
Right.
who came before Jesus. Dankwa predicted that God has already appointed Kwame Nkrumah to lead Ghana.
Lead Ghana. My goodness. Could you go over the 2 5-year development plans and how that proved to the world that Africans were capable of running our own affairs?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Well, the 2 5-year development plans were just like moving from producing for export or producing raw material for export without adding anything to what you produce.
Right.
So when Kwame Nkrumah came in, he had a foresight that in order for a nation to move forward, the nation have to add something to what God had given them, the natural resources,
Right.
before they can sell it.
Okay.
Under colonialism, the colonial masters, all what they thought about was to produce and feed their factories, which were in overseas.
Right.
So the first 5-year development plan was to create an environment that will be suitable for industries to take off.
Right.
That was why Kwame built the Akosombo hydroelectric power.
Okay.
So it will supply electricity to our mining areas, help us to move our trains as we are moving trains faster in New York today. And he built a township at Tema, which was a fishing village.
Okay.
He turned this fishing village into a modern township for working class people. Today, those who have money have sacked the working class people out of Tema. They're chasing them out. So that was the idea behind the 5-year development plan.
Okay.
Kwame had wanted to change Ghana into an industrialist nation.
I see. Professor Nkansah, it baffles me to look at these figures on education between 67 years of the British rule and 10 years of under Kwame Nkrumah CPP administration. In 67 years under the British, primary school enrollment was 154,360. In 10 years under Kwame Nkrumah, 481,500. Middle school enrollment, 66,175 under British rule for 67 years. And in Nkrumah, just 10 years, 160,000. Secondary technical institutions under the British, 3,559. 10 years under Nkrumah, 19,145. Trained teachers, 1,916 under 67 years under British rule. And Nkrumah in 10 years, 4,552. University enrollment, 67 years, 208 students. In 10 years under Kwame Nkrumah, 1,204. Those who want to rewrite history think that this celebration is just that. Looking at these figures, speak volumes of the achievements of Dr. Nkrumah. What is your take just on these numbers?
Well, it's great and it baffles me too. And even it baffled those who have come to colonize us. But Kwame Nkrumah, it didn't baffle him.
Right.
And we know, even in his grave today, it won't baffle him.
Right.
Kwame did understand that political liberalization or political freedom has to be reinforced by both social and economic values.
Right.